Well, Carmen, welcome. I'm super excited to have this conversation today. We've had a lot of discussions around technology today, but we have a very unique perspective of technology that we're going to be discussing today. So really excited to dive into that. But first off, let's start with you.
Right, that sounds great. So I'm Carmen Perkins, the president of Civitas Commercial Real Estate Services. We are a brokerage and advisory firm headquartered in Washington, D.C. Been around since 2012, and we specialize in providing civic-minded real estate strategies to transform communities. And so the way that we execute on our mission of transforming communities is to execute office transactions on behalf of government clients, institutional clients, educational clients, including both colleges and universities in K-12, including a wide range of public charter schools, national nonprofits, and also corporations that have a specific focus on ESG. And so although we spend about 75% of our time in traditional tenant rep office brokerage, we also do a wide range of other services ranging from feasibility analyses to development advisory, landlord rep, and whatever else it takes to execute on our client's mission. And really what sets us apart and makes us unique is that we truly believe in having a double bottom line focus to our business. We chose the name Civitas because it comes from the Latin root of civic, and it really illustrates the community service mission that we have, as well as our focus on making sure that we're driving long-term change in the communities where we live, work, and play.
Awesome. And your role as president, what role do you play in the company?
So a lot of hats, actually.
Yeah,
so we're a boutique, so we're small, and I've got to fulfill a lot of different functions. So on a day-to-day basis, I serve as the Chief Operating Officer, Chief Innovation Officer, Chief Revenue Officer, and a hat that I am finding myself wearing more frequently now as we are undertaking so much change in our industry is Chief Technology Officer, and that is a role that I'm getting more and more used to every week. And so finding myself making sure that our team is supported with all of the important back office technologies that we've been discussing over the course of the conference to improve operational efficiency, but also making sure that our clients are bringing to bear some of the tools that they can use to drive impact within their organizations as they execute their real estate strategies.
Awesome. So you have a little bit of free time.
Well, enjoying spending some of it here in Miami.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So Civitas executes deals that maximize social impact. What does that really mean for folks who aren't as familiar with that?
Yeah, so maximizing social impact for us really is in believing in the mission of our clients. And so what a win looks like for us is to make sure that they're as efficient as they can be. We truly believe in their mission, and we also want to make sure that we're driving maximum economic impact in the communities where we serve. What that looks like is typically long-term job creation and wage growth for professional grade new jobs, amenitizing underserved communities with resources that will resolve food deserts, health deserts, and amenitize them with quality of life benefits that are enjoyed in other areas of their cities. And then also, creating an ecosystem within commercial real estate where ESG and social impact are widely considered to be part of the investment criteria.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And I would say, we've had some good success with that in DC. One of the case studies that we draw on to illustrate how that plays itself out is Progression Place. And for those of you all who might be familiar with DC, this is a transit-oriented mixed-use office complex, anchored complex that sits atop of the Howard University Shaw Metro Station. You know, when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to walk down 7th Street, which is where this project is located, and for many decades has been experiencing disinvestment. And on this project, we were able to represent an anchor tenant. It was the United Negro College Fund that was looking to relocate their national headquarters to DC. And we represented them in securing a 50,000 square foot condo interest in this new office development, which catalyzed the development of the building. And that led the owner to retain us to fill the balance of the building with like-minded institutions. So we recruited organizations like Teach for America, College Success Foundation, and others to create an ecosystem and really a hub around innovation in education policy. And we really loved that project because it served as a catalyst for a number of other developments, such as an adjacent 200,000 square foot apartment complex that provides hundreds of units of deeply affordable housing, and provided enough daytime foot traffic to improve public safety and lead to some public investments in infrastructure and help with some of the local merchants that had been in distress to really revitalize their businesses. And you know, everything from the local fitness studio that was, you know, woman-owned business to a tea shop. So that's one of our favorite projects.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So in terms of technology, bringing it back to tech, you have a very unique perspective on technology. What does that look like for you and for Civitas?
Yeah, so our perspective on tech is we're experimenting. So we're trying to look at the full menu of everything that's available to us for our brokers to become more efficient. But then also we have tried to launch some really creative partnerships with some innovative tech platforms that have allowed us to extend this innovation on the client side and provide some of the data that will really provide support to illustrating the success stories to make social impact, you know, gain longevity in the dialogue around commercial real estate and sustainable investment.
Yeah, that's cool. And earlier on in a session yesterday, I'm just making that connection. I asked a panel a question, you know, what kind of technology do we have, or what is to come in the technology around diversity and inclusion? And I'm now realizing, Carmen, you have those answers, because a lot of the panelists responded and said, you know, there actually isn't much around it, but Carmen, you have those answers. So it's really cool that we have you here today. And you have some great partnerships that I'd love to, and technologies yourself that I'd love to dive into. The first is Skillsmart. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So Skillsmart is a compliance software program that's used by construction companies to comply with local hiring requirements as well as report on that data. They have been around since 2013, have been involved in some of the country's most impactful construction projects. They've worked on everything from Amazon's HQ2 project in Arlington, Virginia, to Hudson Yards, where they've been able to create longitudinal data tracking for their workforce that has been instrumental in securing local incentives and public financing for some of these projects. And so we took a look at their track record. We said we've got to be aligned with this company and make sure that the organizations that we support, you know, implement this. They've got a couple of really cool tools. The first is called Seeker, and Seeker helps to attract and engage a local workforce and upskill them to meet some whatever municipal internal and external reporting goals are required to secure various incentives. As an example, for the Milwaukee Bucks NBA stadium, the city had a 40% local sourcing goal for construction jobs, and so that needed to occur within a specific geographic radius of the stadium in zip codes that, you know, had historical household incomes of ranging about 30,000 and unemployment that was over 15%. And so Seeker was able to secure linkages with local organizations, upskill workers within that zip code, and provide certifications and training that led to long-term wage growth for those workers, not just on this project, but in subsequent projects. And really, it's a tremendous success story for the city of Milwaukee. They've also got a really interesting tool called Insight, which it was used up at Hudson Yards and at HQ2, which ties into payroll tracking systems that will enable construction companies and developers to have a real-time dashboard that gives data insights along different employee, vendor, and subcontractor groups, making sure that they steer clear of wage theft, making sure that each individual employee group is represented throughout the supply chain, and also provides data supporting the rationale for these projects and for additional long-term financing for them, demonstrating the economic growth over time with its geo-fenced around these construction projects. So we think they're super exciting, and we're excited to have established a formal partnership with them this year to take this across to other clients.
That's super cool. And you mentioned that you came across them, it sounds like. And as we mentioned earlier, this is a new frontier for technology. And in terms of coming across new technologies like this, do you have any recommendations for other owners and investors to find great innovative technologies like this?
Wow. Well, I think, first of all, you've got to raise your hand, and from the leadership of your company, just be very vocal about having ESG and social impact as a focus, because I think that attracts like-minded partners, and aligning yourselves with those types of partners will, I think, undoubtedly create the types of relationships that can bring in these technologies.
Great, that's awesome. And it sounds like you all needed a solution and made one yourself as well. Placemaker,
Yes.
your own technology. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yes, so this is one we're growing as opposed to partnering with externally. We have launched a new platform called Placemaker in partnership with our retail brokerage operation in New York, Lifestyle Equities. And we think about Placemaker as the intersection of data insights, branding, and brokerage. And it's super exciting because it has provided pathways that enable more flexible leasing arrangements for small and local businesses. The way it works right now is through primarily a software program called Guest. And Guest is an integration with prospective tenants' POS systems. So it provides real-time sales data down to the SKU level. It's tied into Toast, Square, and a whole host of other POS systems that enhances credit support for small and local businesses, and provides landlords with the certainty that's required to get their projects leased faster, and also to pull in more culturally authentic local businesses into their projects. And it's super exciting. We've seen this be most successful thus far with Urban Space, which has used Guest for its food hall projects, and they're looking to roll that out nationwide, as well as its market at Bryant Park in New York. So we're excited by the possibility and the pathways that this really unleashes for applications across a number of other asset types that, in the future may be looking to more flexible leasing arrangements.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And in terms of maximizing social impact and inclusive growth, and really just finding a great project where you just have a win. I'd love to hear just a little bit more about these specific projects that you guys have worked on.
Sure.
Yeah.
One that we're working on at the moment is so exciting because it balances an industry that I'm very passionate about, which is the arts, with technology. And for this one, we have been leaning heavily on Placer, and we've established a partnership with them, and excited to be working with them. So we're working on behalf of an arts organization. It's a national nonprofit headquartered in New York with their rollout strategy to expand into other markets. DC is going to be the first of those other markets, and so we've been engaging Placer to provide some location-based data analytics around their existing location, as well as do some research around some of the ESG-related factors that are going to be influential for their donor base in supporting the financing of additional locations. And that ranges from everything from environmental sustainability and environmental equity to access, to the financial impact of the project and its ability to attract public financing, so that it really is going to be, secure the long-term financial viability of this arts organization as it grows to a level that, will be, far beyond their historical footprint. And so that's one that we're excited about, and hopefully, I know that you're from DC, you'll be seeing soon.
Can't wait.
Right on 14th in DC.
I'm very excited for that one. Very excited for that one. So, we're talking about a ton of commercial real estate projects and developments, and as a whole, I think society is really moving forward and maximizing social impact and getting passionate about that. But commercial real estate as a whole, why does commercial real estate right now just need to get behind this and start making these strategies?
Well, what we have found is that research shows that where there is a local community that has a diversity of asset types and long-term economic growth, it really enhances the returns of the commercial real estate projects that are in that market. And so we think that supporting the community and the environment really is going to lift all boats when it comes to commercial real estate. But we also think that investors are increasingly demanding a focus on ESG, which we think has wide implications to commercial real estate. But most importantly, we think it's important to stand behind values in a brand. I think that really matters when it comes to building local relationships with municipalities and other stakeholders to the project that will be influential in securing additional projects and having financial sustainability for the long term.
Yeah, and that municipality piece actually isn't something that we've dove down yet. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the role technology is playing in working with municipalities.
Yeah, well, we've got our largest client is the District of Columbia Department of General Services, and we work on behalf of DGS to relocate city agencies into emerging areas of the city that may have been underinvested in. I think you've heard on some other panels during the conference about trying to encourage some diversity among the asset types in the central downtown core. Well, we're actually relocating some of the city agencies to wards 7 and 8 to drive economic growth and sustainable development in those areas. And so we've been using just some back office technology, lease abstraction, AI software, and other things just to improve the efficiency of our delivery of those projects to accelerate the transition of growth into underserved markets in DC.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I know that real estate developers always have something to say about the municipalities, so
yes,
easing those processes and relationships, I think, can make a huge difference on development as a whole.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool. So when used effectively, technology can really benefit all of these groups, from the municipalities to the investors and developers, and really the most important person, the end users and tenants. So in terms of using these strategies and just making the most of them, I know some of our audience members are probably saying, well, what can I do right now that can make a big difference on this?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to bring innovation around ESG to the forefront and raising awareness at the senior executive level, attracting additional investors who have ESG at the center of their strategy is something that can be done. Secondly, aligning with partners that believe in that mission. Third, I think identifying 1 or 2 core values around ESG that can be amplified through your real estate footprint. And then last but not least, just identify the technologies that allow you to track data and report on it, because, to a certain degree, it doesn't matter if you can't measure it. And those are the metrics that will count when it comes to making these projects replicable.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Carmen, thank you so much for joining us today. This is such a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All. Yeah.